Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Block Theater, and this is probably like one of the only reviews I've really wanted to do this year. Like, I've been excited to talk about it because F is for Family is my favorite show on Netflix, if not my favorite show over the past like 5 years. This show to me is simply an event every time a new season comes out. 18 months, guys, come on. You can do better than that. It's only 10 episodes. I don't understand what takes you 18 months in between seasons. But you know what? We get it. I'm happy with it. I've already gone through all 10 episodes, as I was definitely going to do. And it's another great, amazing season under their belt. And once again, this is a show that you can't just kind of come on in at any given time and pick up. You need to go and watch from the beginning because the show interweaves itself so well with previous seasons, predominantly because I believe at this point in time, it's been just a little less than a year, or maybe a little more than a year, during the entire run of the show. I know it takes place in 1974. I don't have any of the dates yet, but I think it's around probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about a year or a little over from where the show began. So the characters have grown, and this season's all about growth. This season is absolutely about character growth. Not only that, but the damage that is done by our parents to us, which I think is a very interesting topic to explore, and one that they did so unabashedly. They didn't shy away from practically anything when it came to this sort of subject matter. And I really enjoyed that because I feel we do need to have more conversations about our parents and how their actions impact us for the rest of our lives. And that is essentially the whole point of the season. Frank Murphy, Bill Burr, his whole backstory with his dad, his whole problem with his dad is all the way through this season. Even with the kind of like the reconciliation and then the inevitable fallout from everything because you can't put a bullet on a band-aid on a bullet hole, and that's a lot of what happens here. But of course, Bill, or Frank growing up was always kind of mistreated by his dad. His dad didn't really understand how he was treating his son, didn't really understand what he was saying to him and how it was going to have an impact down the road, and how those memories were going to impact Bill as he grew up and how he interacted with his kids. I'm sorry, Frank. I keep getting the two confused. And so that to me was very fascinating. I also really enjoyed how Bill, young Bill, dealt with trying to gain not only his own independence by trying to join hockey, but then come to terms with his own internal anger as a result of being Frank's kid and dealing with that level of kind of emotional neglect that they've experienced over his young life, never mind what's happened to him over the course of the previous 3 seasons. Maureen had, I would probably argue, the least amount of character development when it came to her character. She had a much more prominent part, I think, in season 3, especially with going and doing the whole like STEM acceleration type stuff in school. This season, it was mostly just her and a play, and then her hanging out with Bridget Fitzsimmons, which was awesome because Bridget is such a wild firecracker of a character. She's always fun to have around. But she also kind of was a bit of a back seat the whole time, I think. Obviously, you had Justin Long's character, whose name completely moves on me right now. I don't know. Kevin, thank you. That's his name, Kevin. And his growth from being this kind of moody teenager to like being happy and not knowing what it's like to be happy, then being mocked for being happy because he found a girl who believes in him, Alice, who was such a great, companion for Kevin. She believed in him. She encouraged him. She gave him Lord of the Rings to read. I thought that was pretty great because they call themselves, was it Frodo and the Shire, right, or whatever is what they call their band. And he'd never read Lord of the Rings, and he finally reads it, and then he's all of a sudden applying himself in school and doing better on tests and trying to get the answer right. And I love the scene where he's in class and he gets an answer right and it ends up like causing a riot. Just because that's how crazy the show gets. That's how wild the show gets. I mean, obviously, You had Sue, Laura Dern's character, being pregnant. This is basically at the end of the pregnancy. I want to say season three probably took place probably over the span of, I want to say, about 6 weeks, maybe. I could be wrong. It could be a little bit shorter than that, but I feel it's about 6 to 7, maybe 8 weeks. But she's in the final stages of her pregnancy and dealing with everything that a midlife crisis, I think, for a 40-year-old woman who's pregnant with her fourth child, who hasn't fulfilled her own desires in life yet, is going to be dealing with, as well as dealing with, wanting to, be the best mom she can for her kids. And then also the question about whether or not she even wants this kid. And you could tell neither her or Frank really wanted the baby most of the time. And I think, from season 3 to season 4, I've had another child. And so it's like that another child comes on, I only had one, now I have two, and I love my kids. But then there's like those thoughts of like, oh my God, you start thinking about everything you previously went through. You start thinking about everything you want to do and how much time you're not going to have right away. And then it gets overwhelming. It gets over the top. And that's a lot of what Sue is dealing with this season, in my opinion. And she handled it the best way that she could, by doing everything she could to just keep moving forward, even though she was trying to juggle being pregnant, her own depression, her own lack of self-worth, as well as dealing with Frank and his father, Kevin and Bill and Maureen, and everything else going on. She was trying to hold the family together. She was absolutely the glue. And it's why I think Laura Dern in the series is perfection. I love Laura Dern in the role. She's such a perfect Sue. I think she works out really well. She brings the heat when she needs to, but she's also emotionally vulnerable when she needs to be. And I think she does a fantastic job. And I think the whole cast does an amazing job. Vic had a big character arc this season where he was then trying to grapple with what it meant to be 30. And that is considered old in the radio game. I always thought he was over the age of 30. Maybe it's the partying, the sex, and the drugs. Who knows? But Sam Rockwell did an amazing job with that character, as always. He brings this emotional vulnerability to Vic, while also having just kind of a sexy machismo. Vic's my favorite character on the show, and I just enjoy watching his antics, right? Because he's dealing with going back to work now. The Quack is now being moved into some kind of like light, contemporary, the Quees, because that's what they're doing out in California. And they got this new program director, voiced excellently, by the way, by Alex Moffat from SNL, who did a great job. And he went through his whole process of trying to sign Kevin and the boys to get them to be a band he could then use as a way to kind of make himself cool again, while also still, I think, by the end, trying to find himself, as well as the situation with the baby at the end of the show. Is it Vic's? She says that it's Vic's. People online have been asking whether or not it's Kevin because of their sultry rendezvous in season 3. But the truth of the matter is, the writers of F is for Family have come out and said no, that it's Vic's, and they said this on Twitter literally like less than 24 hours after the show came out. So they kind of spoiled it a bit, and I gave them a bit of crap for it. But hey, listen, I love the writing on the show. I think the writers did a great job, and I would love to, if you guys feel bad enough about spoiling that for me, feel free to let me come to LA and be a voice actor on the show. Let's throw a line out there. I got a good microphone. I record from here. That's my wish list, so to speak. You had Rosie, Kevin, Michael Richardson as Rosie. Excellent. I love Rosie. I loved episode 7, R is for Rosie, because it gave us it was a spin-off episode that almost kind of felt like a backdoor pilot for giving Rosie his own show and dealing with the corrupt politics while being the alderman for the 12th district. And I loved it. I loved it for a couple of reasons. One, the dirty politics was hysterical. 2, one of the councilmen or other aldermans, whatever, was straight up Bernie Sanders. It was straight up 1974 wild hair Bernie Sanders, who got bribed off with with steak and coupons to fly on Mohican Air. And it was good. I love seeing Rosie and trying to fight the good fight. And I really love that Rosie was out there trying to fight the good fight all the way through, and still taking crap from the man, but knowing that he's doing something good. And I really enjoyed that. If Netflix wants to greenlight a Rosie show, dude, I'm there. Bells on. I'll laugh my ass off all the way through. I'm down for it, by the way. So I just want to make that abundantly clear. I also love that Snoop Dogg showed up as the preacher, and you wouldn't even tell that it's Snoop Dogg in that role. He doesn't sound like Snoop outside of one line, but still, it was great that it was Snoop. Oh God, Bob Pogo. David Koechner, if I'm saying Koechner, I can never pronounce his name correctly, but Bob Pogo, this time he's lost all the weight and he is just like a husk of his former self. He's trying to survive and he's just like a mess every time we see him, but he's a lot nicer of a person than he was once he lost all the weight and realized that life is maybe a little bit worth living. He's a bit better, but still a bit of a scummy guy at times, especially towards the end of the season when they find out that they're selling Mohican Air and he starts binge eating because he's guilt eating. And I should have caught on to that because I was watching it and I'm like, he's binge eating a lot. Like he's going back to his old ways. I wonder what's happening. And obviously we find out that the airline is being sold. Of course, is being sold right at the time when Frank's going to be having his fourth child in his 40s. And he of course is freaking the hell out, just like Sue is. And I really enjoyed the dynamic between the family. Again, like I said, everything with Big Bill played awesomely by Jonathan Banks, who brought a lot to the role. I've been a Jonathan Banks fan since Free Jack in '88. And I loved him, of course, on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and he's just a good actor. I like him quite a bit, and I thought he brought a lot to this role. I thought he brought a lot to the character. It was funny kind of seeing him like this frail old man, very sweet old man, but then when he went hard, he went Jonathan Banks hard, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. But there was an emotional vulnerability there when dealing with those scenes, a raw emotion that I really enjoyed. What was it? Also, just okay, fine. Bill Burr, Frank. Frank did such a good job. Just because the rage with Bill Burr this season was like up to a 10. Because we have bits of rage in the other seasons, and those are always funny. But in episode 1, it started like at 10. It just started with this rage. He just came off the starting line and just didn't stop for the whole first episode. It was funnier than hell because it makes a lot of sense that he's so upset over his dad. He's so upset over the way everything has turned out in his life, and he's just complaining to the priest about it. And he just, every little thing gets him mad. He cusses out a nun. I mean, it's just hysterical stuff. But Bill Burr brought his acting chops to this season, and I would love it if the Emmys would look at the voice cast of F is for Family, about the raw emotion and the vulnerability they brought to the table. All the characters did it. They did such a great job. I mean, we got a bit more with Jimmy Fitzsimmons and kind of seeing him as being the wounded child that he is, by just trying to get his father's attention, and his father gives it all to Bill because Bill takes out his aggression on the hockey team. You've got Goomer. What is happening with Goomer? I mean, he went weird last season and he cranked it up in this season. And I was like, wow, okay. But I didn't feel like I felt like they were building towards something with Goomer, but they didn't really kind of get to it yet. I mean, then again, the shot of him when he went to the old guy's house, and he dressed up like the old guy who was in I forget his name, but he was in the Holocaust, and he wrote "sad guy" on his arm where the numbers were. I lost it. I absolutely lost it. I thought that was one of the funniest damn things I've ever seen, simply because of oh my God, I can't believe they did that. And there were so many times in the season where I thought to myself, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. My jaw dropped a couple of times when there were some cliffhanger endings, because they had actual good cliffhanger endings. And what dawned on me when they had the cliffhanger endings was how much I care about these characters, which is a weird thing to say about animated characters, but it's very true. I very much care about these characters. I know that I'm not the only one. I've been reading the Twitter feed for F is for Family. They're retweeting everybody talking about it, and a lot of diehard fans out there, which is why I call it the funniest damn show on Netflix. It's the funniest damn show. The only complaint that I have probably was for seasons 1, 2, and 3, we kind of had this weird subplot arc about the porno fuck school, and that had no mention in this season, outside of the one line to the one dude in the last episode, a part-time pornographer. That was the only reference to fuck school throughout the entire season, and I was really hoping that we were going to see the evolution of that, just to have it pop up in the background, because that's the way this show operates. When you watch the show, like I said, you have to watch all the other episodes. There's so many little things that they say. There's so many little gags that they pull. There's so much in the background. There's stuff written on like the newspaper. There's the advertisements. There's so much that they pull from, and it really does build this world, this kind of fictional 1974, really skewed all in the family take world, where the racism and the sexism and the misogyny and the bigotry, it's all there. right? The raunchiness of life on that front is all there, but it's done so in a way that is poignant and entertaining. And that's why I think also they played up a lot with Rosie this season to really touch upon that. And also at this point, too, coming out right during these protests during this time, it's way, 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 way more poignant that I believe they had realized at the time when they wrote it. Very similar, and this is kind of an odd comparison, but very similar to Captain America Civil War, or Winter Soldier, which when that came out in 2014, came out right at the time of the whole Snowden leaks and learning about how our government was spying on us. And then the whole point of, Winter Soldier was that particular program. And so obviously sometimes art does a great job at imitating life, albeit accidentally. And I thought that was pretty fantastic. So look, at the end of this whole thing, I've been on for 15 minutes. I hope you guys have made it this far. If you're like me, you probably are watching it. If you hear my kid screeching in the background, I'm sorry. She's 10 months old. I can't control that. But this is another great season. It's a fantastic show that Netflix needs to keep going for a number more years, and give them a bigger budget to get this stuff out faster. I can't stress that enough. You sons of bitches. And I also want to say a quick thank you to Michael Price, the co-creator and the writers of Officer Family, who after my season 3 review actually followed me on Twitter and very much liked my analysis. And so if Michael, if you're watching this, sup, bro? Just saying, hey. Anyway, to the rest of you out there, what's your favorite part of the season? What made you laugh the most? I want to hear about it. Let me know down in the comment section. I'll talk to you guys all later. Have yourself a great day. Thank you again. Thank you to Netflix for F is for Family, the entire writing team, the animation team, the voice talent. You guys are amazing. I'm going to go watch it again. I love it. Peace out.